Record. Hello, my name is Cassie Murray. I'm a reference librarian at Fayetteville Public Library. Thank you all for being here. Today we welcome Mollie Watkins, founder of Comprehensive Consulting, which is a Northwest Arkansas-based business management consulting and coaching firm that has helped a variety of agencies succeed. Today she will walk us through the foundations of business planning for small businesses. She will also be hosting 2 more workshops in the coming months, one in July on marketing and another in August on recruitment tools and strategies. Please help me welcome Mollie Watkins.
Yay, thank you, Cassidy, so much. And thanks everyone for being here today. I'm Mollie Watkins, and of course, we're in the business planning session. We have a presentation to walk through and hopefully a very interactive session for everyone. Shout out to Cassidy and Kelly for working on this, and the Fayetteville Public Library for holding, things like this for small business owners. So thank you to y'all for all your work on this. We really appreciate it. And we're going to get started. Are we ready for this business planning party?
We are.
Yeah. Yes. So here's a little bit about what we're going to go through. So just a welcome and introduction. What is a business plan? That's probably what y'all are wondering. Is it important? What should be included in it? And how do I start it? Right? Those are probably good questions for the new folks in the room, and possibly if you just started as well. So a little bit about me. Again, welcome. And I don't know if y'all can see the blue in my glasses. If y'all remember the Terminator movie from back in the day, it was like one of my favorite where he had the red. I have the blue. So there's that, right? And as I mentioned, I'm an accredited small business consultant with Comprehensive Consulting Solutions. We help small businesses with their small business puzzle. So that includes marketing, business planning, recruiting, operations for more established companies, as well as for strategic planning. So we help with all those different parts of their business. We have clients that are painters, movers, doctors, CPAs, artists, musicians, even though they're, and many more, even though they're in different industries, they all have that same small business puzzle. They still have the same components. And that's where we come in to help with those areas of the small business puzzle. Now, business planning, of course, is a very, very important part of running a business. And I am excited to present this to you. We're going to have an interactive session. We're going to have some polls throughout. And if you have questions, please put those in chat, because Cassidy is we're going to have segments where she's actually going to read some of those questions, and we're going to have Q&A. So to get started, let's do a little poll. See, kind of get a feel for the room. So here we go. Here's our poll. We'll take about a minute and have everyone just kind of select your answer.
So when are you opening your business? Open
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
in 1 to 3 months, in 4 to 6 months, in 6+ months or more. Let's see.
Yay. Looks like we're getting some good answers.
All right, it looks like we have all answered, and let's share the results.
Oh, wow. So a lot are open now. That's great. And then looks like 1 to 3 months is the other majority. And then the rest are 4 to 6 or 6+. So this is perfect timing. That's great. So get that out of our way here. I love it. So welcome again. We are going to get started. So what is a business plan? That's the question, right? So when we think of business plans, and Cassidy, I think there's somebody waiting in the room. I just got a notification at the top of my screen. Sorry.
Oh, thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. No, you're right. Just like popped up. There we go. So a business plan is the roadmap for your business. It details specifics, where you're going, where you're headed, where you're at. What are you going to sell in the future? How are you going to get that product out to the masses? What's the timeline? Is it today, tomorrow, 6 weeks, 3 years, right? It's something that is never a final document. Whenever we do a business plan, it's something that we are always adjusting and tweaking and reviewing to make sure that, nothing has changed and that we don't need to alter our strategy. Now, it also kind of identifies obstacles. What could get in our way? It has a SWOT analysis. We'll go through that later. It has all these different things that help us kind of a roadmap. When you think of, if you travel, right? When you travel, you kind of lay out, well, not as maybe much. Let's think of the 90s. When you traveled, right, you had to make a map and you had to go from here to there, right? We didn't have Google and all those things. So it's similar to that. We're making a plan for our business and how we're going to be successful. So we're going to kind of, when you're thinking of what's the roadmap for my business, think of you, what would it need for your business to be successful? And what areas and information are within that business plan to make your business successful? So this is one of my, I use this a lot, kind of just a little image, I guess you could call it a little meme of the basics of business planning. So you can see there's competitors, finance, strategy, timeline, operations, team, goals, and marketing. So these are in competitors. These are some of the bigger sections of the business plan. Now, one thing to think of is, well, that seems like a lot of information, right? Well, there's a lot of different things that goes into this. Well, if we're doing a roadmap for our business, details matter, specifics matter. So we want to make sure that we have from start to finish. So not just what we want to do, but how we're going to do it. And to keep in mind, I get this question a lot, is how long should the business plan be? All right. Should it be 10 pages? Should it be 20, 30, 4 pages? What is that? Well, that depends on your experience. That depends on it. Have you been a business owner before? Have you had experience with processes? If you're new to this, we're going to have to detail a lot more information to make sure that you have the proper roadmap for your business. So it could be 10, it could be 40. That just depends on the business owner. I think the longest that I've worked on, I think, was 40 plus pages, but most of those are, probably 10 to 20, depending on the business. And one thing to keep in mind, if some of you, attendees on here are trying to get financing, well, that is going to be a much more detailed business plan than if, we're just putting something together to have a plan. Lenders are going to want specific bits of information. How are you going to use the capital if you get the loan? What are the specific processes? Is it doing a build out? Are we doing marketing? Is it hiring staff? So they want to know exactly what that looks like. If you're hiring staff, how are you going to find them, right? So it's kind of the roadmap from start to finish. And sometimes business owners struggle with the specifics, right? The big picture. I have many clients like that. This is the big picture. This is what I see, but there's a lot of details in between. And that's absolutely okay. We're all different personalities, right? The big thing that we've got to focus on is, if we are that big picture person, let's bring in a peer or a mentor or a consultant to help with those nitty-gritty details, because this is a big instance where details matter. So now, the one thing for us to kind of think about, just to kind of wrap up this little segment, is don't let this overwhelm you. It's done in sections. So it's not like you're doing all of this at once. You're kind of going in sections to each category, and we're going to go through those here in just a second. All right. So this is one of my favorite sections. I know you are all thinking it. That's great, Molly, but that seems like a lot of work, right? And I completely understand that. But in my experience with business owners, and I've worked with them over many, many years, and what I've experienced are some of these statistics. So we're going to go through some that I relate to and have seen in my different, my career, and then of course out in my business now. And some of these are powerful. So according to QuickBooks, and you can read here, VPlans is an organization that helps businesses with business planning and startups. They have a great website with some free tools. So they worked with the University of Oregon to compile and analyze research. Okay. So you can kind of see faster growth, the more likely to be on startup. Businesses with a business plan grow 30% faster than those without. That's powerful to me, right? Have a plan is going to make you more prepared. Now, this middle section right here, and hold on, I'm sorry, I have a little thing in the way there. Owners with business plans are 2 times more likely to grow. That to me is not as surprising, because if you have a plan, right, for growth and we're doing the right things, this is easier to achieve. Also get investments and secure a loan than those without. It's powerful. So we're more likely to grow, we're more likely to get financing, and then the beyond startup phase. So what this means is entrepreneurs with a plan have 129% increased likelihood of growing beyond the startup phase. So when you think of kind of the phases, it's kind of the idea, we're forming it, and then it goes to the startup where we're actually starting the business, right? So have 129% increased likelihood of growing beyond the startup phase to the growth phase, and a 260% increase in the likelihood to go from idea to new business. So what does this say to y'all? To me, I don't know about y'all, but it says I probably need to have a plan and structure for how I'm going to come about and start my business. Now, there's also kind of here at the bottom from the Journal of Business Venturing, they did, now the VPlans is a smaller study, but when we look at the Journal of Business Venturings, their meta-analysis, they did they looked at 46 different studies on 11,000 organizations. And what they, came up with is we can confirm that when you do business planning, you increase the performance for both the new and established businesses. To me, this is powerful. Now, when we come to this next slide, I don't want to freak anyone out, but this is only so when we think about why we should business plan, this is another reason. And that other reason is this right here. A lot of these things on this list could have been prevented with proper planning. There's a CV Insights. They're kind of like a look at data in businesses, and they did 101 startup polls on why businesses failed. These ring very true. I've worked with business owners for many years, and these are absolutely true. So if we look at some of these statistics, that first one, 42% of small businesses fail because there's no market or need for their service. Wow. Do you think that we could have probably figured that out through our business planning process? Absolutely. The next one, they ran out of cash. That one happens. Here's the thing with these, we were not in the situation. We have we're not there. We're making assumptions on what happened, of course. But that second one, they ran out of cash. Now, sometimes that happens, right? That just happens, even if we proper plan. But a lot of the time, from my experience, is we weren't planning in the beginning. The business owner wasn't. And then we run out of cash. So if we would have done some break-even analysis, our balance sheet, our profit and loss projections, we may have reduced the likelihood for that to occur. Now, the next one, the right team. I mean, these are powerful stats. So just because we have people there right on our team doesn't mean they're the right team. And sometimes business owners, and I've known many of them over the years and still work with them today, that they hire someone to put in a seat. And that doesn't make them the right person, right? That just makes them a body. So that statistic is very, to me, just interesting, because if we don't have the right people, we may not achieve the right goal, right? 19% were outcompeted. Competition. We should have really researched our competition. What's better about us compared to our competition? What's our competitive advantage? Excuse me, or our unique selling proposition. And I've got allergies, y'all, so sorry about the pollen. And then 18% failed because of pricing and cost. Again, research. Sometimes we weren't there, right? But just making assumptions. We want to research what is the market? What will it bear? And if we are going to charge a higher price, what are we offering? And even if we're still charging a higher price because we feel like we have a better product, the one thing in sales throughout my career for us to keep in mind in most scenarios, price is important in the absence of value. So keep that in mind. We want to make sure that they're getting something no one else is giving them. Now, poor product offerings, business model, poor marketing, all of those business planning. We could have made a difference, right? Now that last one, the 14% failed because they ignored their customers. I have no answers for that one. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe we did not have a customer service plan or customer satisfaction plan, but that one blows my mind. So please don't ignore your customers, right? And, we can see through these reasons that, something keeps coming up: the capital, the cash flow, lack of demand, and poor management. Well, what could we have negated, those things to happen? Well, if we would have done proper business planning, maybe these things wouldn't have occurred, right? So these statistics are very powerful to me. And again, in my experience, they're dead on. So guess what? Poll time. Yay. So if y'all just want to take, we'll give it a minute. And Cassie, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, guys, launching poll. So what may have prevented most of the top results for business failure? Please select all that apply. I wish we had some like drum roll or circus.
I know, we need some tunes, right? We need some tunes in the background. Like a little Jeopardy, right? That would be great.
We're getting into it now. Yay.
Oh, that's awesome. Getting some good responses. Yeah.
All right, guys, I will go ahead and end polling and share the results.
Wow. So it looks like everyone said business planning. You are dead on. Very good. And it looks like it was kind of, the rest were just very close. So this was a trick question. And this is, business plan. We haven't got into the sections, right? But we will in a minute. But y'all did amazing. All of these items could be in our business plan, right? So y'all did great, though. It looks like y'all knew the first one. You knew it was business planning. So that's great. Awesome. We'll keep on rolling. All right. So Cassidy, do we have any questions or anything in chat?
There is one question. Mollie, do you also work with someone who wants to start a nonprofit?
Ah, that's a great question. I have worked with nonprofits. I've done some strategic planning and some marketing strategy sessions with them. So absolutely, nonprofits are a little different, right? But I have resources that are specific within the industry. So yes, absolutely. All businesses, even if I know nonprofits not making a profit, but they are making an operational surplus. That's what we don't want a deficit, right? So it's maybe not about profit, but we do want to have that surplus. So yes, a lot of the same things would apply. Great question. Thank you.
I think that's it. Oh, we might have one more. Hi, Tim.
I was just curious. I mean, what if you're doing something small, like just, an online business like Etsy or, eBay? I mean, is this stuff kind of necessary? I mean, this stuff you're talking about is more like if you're trying to get financed, right?
No, sir. And was it Sam? Is that who I'm speaking to?
Tim.
Tim, I'm sorry, Tim. Yeah, Tim, that's a great question. So no, this wouldn't be just for financing. This would be even for an Etsy, even for any of those smaller businesses, because just because we put up a store doesn't mean they will come, right? We can put up a store, but if we don't market and plan appropriately for how we're going to bring in business, it still may not sell anything. So this applies. Now, your business plan isn't going to be as detailed as someone who's obtaining a location, right? And getting multiple staff, of course. But even for smaller businesses, I've worked with some that are side businesses and they've grown into full-time entrepreneurs. So I would, it's a great question, But you want to plan for any type of business, Tim, because if we don't know how we're going to market our business or how we're going to get our business out to the masses, then our consumers won't either. Does that make sense, Tim?
Yes.
Thank you for your question.
And there's one more question. Is there any general rule for the amount of time in the future you're trying to project, wait, time in the future you're trying to project as you first develop your business plan?
So I'm sorry,
that.
Cassidy, what was that one again? I couldn't hear you.
Is there any general rule for the amount of time in the future you're trying to project as you first develop your business plan?
Oh, that's a great question. So thank you, Cassidy. Yeah. So I would say if, with business plans and we're starting a new business, it's not like an established business where we're going to project 5 and 10 years down the road, right? That's a little too far out for a smaller business. So with a smaller business, we're going to have those little more shorter term goals and objectives. So in the next 30 days, I'm, for example, setting up my LLC. In the next 45 days, I'm, obtaining my insurance. In 3 months, I plan on this. 6 months, I'm going to hire a salesperson and so forth. So our goals for a newer business are probably going to be less than 3 years, usually more like that 30-day to 1 year. And then when we get that established, we start building our longer term goals. So that was a really great question. Yes, thank you, Cassidy. We're good on the questions?
I think this one can wait till the end. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank y'all. Great questions, everybody. Thank y'all so much. Those were really great questions. And of course, if y'all have any more, please put those in chat or ask them. That is what we are here for. So here is the question. We've talked about why is this important, right? Why is the business plan important? We've looked at some statistics. We know we're better, set up for growth. We're more likely to go from our idea to actually our startup phase, right? And then proceed through that. But what's in it? Right? We kind of touched on that a moment ago with some of the areas, but now we are really going to deep dive into some of the sections. So as you notice my photo here, work in progress. Again, a business plan is never a final document. This is something that you are going to work through and revisit throughout your entrepreneurial journey. So here are some of the sections. Executive summary. I know many of y'all know what that is. That is just literally a summary of the document. You do that last in a business plan. That's the last thing we do. A company description. Now, this includes basics. This is talking about our business. This is talking about, how we're set up. How do we start? Where are we located? What do we do? Who do we serve? Who owns the business? Is it a partnership? Is it a sole proprietor? How is that ownership percentage defined, right? Do we need capitalization? Do we need obtained funding? Or are we going to run the business based on our savings or funding from family or friends or a mentor, right? Or do we need to access obtain capital through loans? So that's kind of the company description about your business. Mission, vision, and values. So this is a question that comes up a lot. What really does that mean, right? Or mission, what are all these things, right? So the easiest way to think of a mission statement is, what is your business trying to achieve? What are you trying to do? This is something that it goes to the public in the public view for them to see as well, so that they can support and understand your decisions and where you're going and where you're headed. Now, that's a mission. A vision is long-term. What you want to achieve in the future. That may or may not be something that you share with the public. Some businesses do, some don't. That's completely up to you and your business. But it's more of where I want to be long-term. And then values. What does your business value? What do you value? What are the, those traits and characteristics that your business, your employees, your team is going to portray to not only the customers and the public, but to anyone they encounter, right? One of the ones here at Comprehensive Consulting is, we like to do it right. That's one of our big ones. We like to have fun. Of course, you got to have fun in anything we do, but we also like to focus on our end result, right? And get things done, and you get what you give. That is another one of ours. So those are just things that are close to my heart, and yours would probably be close to your heart as well. Now, as long as they align with your branding and your strategy, we want to make sure there is consistency among that, right? But just think of values as, what do I believe, right? And what should the company adhere to? Now, team, I think that one you probably are like, yeah, we get that one. That is who is working for you. Not just they work for you, but what do they do? So if you're doing a business plan, and I know Tim had asked a question earlier about the Etsy, you may not have a team yet, right? It may just be you. You're filling the orders. You've set up your e-commerce site on Shopify, right? Or Etsy or wherever that may be. And you are filling those orders just based out of your house. However, is that how you want to do it forever? You may say, within year one, I want to hire one of these distribution and shipping companies to take that away. I want to have an administrative assistant, right? So team is not just now, but where your team looks in the future. Products and services. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? But not just what we sell, but also what are the benefits? I think as business owners, I see this a lot is, well, I sell this widget, right? I sell this, this phone, for example. Well, what is the benefit to the consumer about the phone? It's accessible anytime, right? The flexibility to do whatever I want. It's got the internet. I can communicate with anyone at any time. Those are the benefits, right? So think about when you're thinking of your product or service, don't just think I sell widgets, right? Think about, what does it do for the end consumer? What does it provide them? Why should they buy it from me, right? And again, that competitive advantage, that unique selling proposition. Why is yours better? If everybody sells a widget, right? And not just a widget is just a random item. You can picture whatever you'd like for that. But why should they buy it from you? Think through that, because this is very powerful. And when we know what the benefit of our product is, and we're selling it to our consumers and they see the benefit as well, it just makes everything easier. So think about why should the consumer buy it? Not just, I sell this product, but also think about, an example earlier, is this a product that we have to manufacture? Are we in a restaurant where we have a lot of menu items? What are our recipes, right? Where do we get those? So there's things to kind of think more about than just what we sell. A SWOT. This is one of my favorites. This is where I start most of my business planning with. A SWOT, and we're going to get into this in just a second, stands for strengths, S for strengths, W for weaknesses, O for opportunities, and T for threats. What a SWOT analysis is it assesses our situation, what we're good at, and what we lack or have opportunity with. We'll go into that a little later. Industry analysis. This one's a big one. How big is your industry that you're trying to sell? What is the market for your product? Do people buy what you're selling, right? What are our competitors? Who are they? And they may not just be, if you're selling across the United States, they're not just going to be in Arkansas, right? However, if you're local and you're selling in Northwest Arkansas, we look here, but we also look at surrounding states to see, what are the competitors doing, right? And that kind of comes into the next one, which is competitive analysis. What do they do really well, right? What do you see and notice that you're like, wow, that is amazing? That, for example, their branding, everyone knows their name, right? The McDonald's, for example, everyone knows the Golden Arches, right? That sign, their branding's phenomenal. Other businesses are like that as well. But competitive analysis, you're looking deep. You're not just, oh, that's my competitor, right? No, we want to go in and see what they sell, how they sell it, how many people they have. We want to go, as the kids say, y'all, we want to creep. So we want to go and creep on them and see what our competition is. What are we competing with? What do we need to plan for? Maybe they have something that, wow, that is amazing. They have a 24-hour response or whatever, depending on your business. Maybe that's something we need, right? It's a way to look and assess, okay, what is our competition? What do they do well at? And what can we do better? What the opportunity? You may look at your competitors and be like, wow, they are not online. Their online presence is horrible. And you think, we know with COVID, right, that e-commerce is up substantially, depending on what source you look at, 30 to 60%, right? I mean, the numbers are wild. So we know we've got to be online. We know we have to be there. So maybe we notice some of the competitors don't do the greatest job of it. That's an opportunity for us, right? So we're creeping. Now, operations plan, this is getting into the nitty-gritty details of who does what and when, processes. We think, oh yeah, we just start a business. Well, there's processes that go into that, right? What are we doing on a daily basis? Maybe we have, what is the bookkeeper does this, our technology folks do this, our marketing folks do this, our salespeople do this. If you're a solopreneur, you're doing it all, right? So what are all those things that you're doing on a daily basis that make that business run? Now, marketing plan is one of course, my favorites. It's very close to my heart. I love marketing. It's a very powerful tool for businesses. The one thing that I hear a lot of is, why do I need a marketing plan? Well, that's a great question. If you want people to find your product and to buy it, usually you need some marketing. I get, just like with me, probably 85 to 90% of my business is based on referrals, right? However, that other percentage comes from my other activities where I'm doing a lot with online ads and so forth, right? During COVID, I was so glad because I couldn't depend on referrals, right? Because no one was seeing anyone. So it was that benefit. So with our marketing plan, it's how everything works together. And when we look at, I get what's the magic bullet? There's not. Everything has to work together, but it has to be the right tools, right? Marketing is very important. You have to spend money to make money. Now, there are things for new business and startups that you can do that are free to you, just take up your time, that you have to do, because those are just low-lying fruit. Absolutely. With my clients, that's where we start. Let's take advantage of any low-lying fruit. Let's take advantage of what we have at our fingertips. However, we're going to build up to a bigger and broader plan. So marketing is very powerful. Just because you put up a door or a sign or a website doesn't mean people know you're there. So just keep that in mind. Now, short-term goals and long-term goals, these are some of my favorite as well. We had a great question earlier about short-term. Short-term is probably like 3 years or less, but for brand new businesses, I would go probably a year or less. Long-term, we're going all the way out to 5 years. Now, when we think of goals, we want these, does everybody remember SMART? Right? And KISS, keep it simple, right? So with a SMART goal, we want to be objective. We want to say a time. We don't just want to say, I sell widgets. I'm going to sell widgets. Well, that's great, right? We're glad we're selling widgets, but what are specifics around those widgets? For example, within 6 months, we're going to sell $20,000 of widgets. We got a timeline. We know exactly what we're doing, right? By month 6, we're going to hire an additional salesperson. Okay. We're getting more specific. Or for example, by year 3, this is more of the long term for more of those on the established side, we are going to increase our retention to, 90% or whatever that may be. So there's a lot of these things. When we think of goals, don't just say what you're going to do, say when you're going to do it and by what time, because that keeps us and that holds us accountable, right? Here's our plan. And initially, like I kind of mentioned earlier, you're not going to have those selling stuff because you're building the business. So it's going to be obtain insurance, right? Set up the LLC, get your business license. These are little things in the initial, right? Start the business plan, start networking. There's different goals there at the beginning than there are at the end. So, and, goals are very, very important. Another goal could be attend 4 networking meetings a month. Those are, some of those smaller goals that build up to the bigger goals. Those matter too. Don't just think of our big goals. Think of, if I want to sell the widgets, right? How do I get to sell the widgets? How do I get there? Well, I'm going to be networking in the community. Here's my online marketing plan, right? I'm going to be working my referrals, centers of influence. Here's my text campaign, so forth and so on. So, and then elevator pitch. This one is a struggle for a lot of business owners, which I totally understand. An elevator pitch is, if you were in an elevator and you had 60 seconds, or sometimes even 30, what are you going to say about your business that's compelling? Right? Not just I sell widgets, because that they know that. It's kind of what is the benefit. So for us, we help small businesses with their small business puzzle, right? Help them with their opportunities. That's the benefit to our small businesses. Think the same way when you're doing the elevator pitch. You're going to have to do that in networking if that's one of your strategies, or even when you meet people and hand out business cards. So how you're going to sell your business, if you have 30 to 60 seconds, you hand them a business card, what are you going to say, right? So, and then the next one is financial projections. And this one is where a lot of my business owners get a little intimidated, because it's one of those things where financial projections, again, I don't know, I have no idea, I'm building a business plan. I don't know what to put. There are some tools that we'll go through here at the end that give you some templates for these financial projections. Those could be your projected balance statement. That could be a projected P&L. What is our projected profit and loss? And then you can kind of see the rest of these projections go through. Startup expenses. How much does it how much does it cost to start the business? Not just, okay, yeah, we've got to get the website, or we're going to get the business license, set up the LLC, but what about the technology? Do you have a point of sale system, right? Do you have to have a certain specific tool that works with a franchise because you're a franchise, right? There's all these different things that go into what we need to initially start. How are we going to communicate with customers, right? So these are all kind of questions of what we need to start. And if the business owner hasn't, if they're going to do financing and so forth, part of that startup expense is, we're going to have to do some loan applications and so forth, right? So, and then monthly, of course, is just what's going to happen ongoing monthly. And I usually like to project those out 6 to 12 months. Now, break-even analysis is exactly what it says. When do I break even with what I'm spending and what I'm making, right? And so that's a really exciting point for a lot of business owners, because with a new business, sometimes you're not making money initially, you're putting it into the business, right? So we have to have a plan. Now, some of my business owners are in different situations, right? Others are not. So we got to make sure that we can sustain that time till we break even. Capital and use, this is a big one. This kind of goes with that break even. Do we have savings, or are we borrowing money from a friend or a family? Do we have access to a loan? What do we need in terms of that loan? What are we going to use that loan for? Because banks usually aren't really cool when we say, hey, we just want a loan, right? They want to know what are the steps and what do you plan to do with that money? And then marketing budget is, what is our ongoing marketing budget? Initially, it may be a lot lighter than it is long-term, right? So initially, hey, we're just doing a couple things until we start making money. We're doing our networking. We're doing heavily on those more free things, right, than the higher cost. So I know that was a ton of information. So pop those questions into chat. We're going to go, because I know it's about 10:43, so I want to make sure that we're good on time here. This is one of my favorite tools. Everyone, I'm sure y'all have heard of it, maybe read about it, a SWOT. You can kind of see on the left here, external, internal, helpful, and harmful at the top. When we think of strengths and weaknesses, that's kind of the top, those are internal. Those are things that we have power over. So for example, a strength could be the experience of the owner, right? They've done this for years. Or a key employee that's coming with to start the business. However, at the same time, a weakness could be, what if that key employee left, right? They have all this knowledge that we want. At the bottom there says opportunities and threats. Those are external. So those are things that we don't have control over, such as, when we're thinking about expanding maybe oh my gosh, if I could speak geographically, or something, we want to diversify our product offering, maybe there's a potential for that. After we've done all this research, we're conducting our SWOT, and we're seeing some things that maybe we didn't see before. A threat, competition, right? Market saturation. There's a lot of things, and I'm going to give you a couple examples of some of these just so we kind of, kind of comes together in your head. For example, on, strengths would be repeat clients, reputation, competitive advantage, right? Why are you better? That could be a huge strength. Maybe you have a good supply chain, you have low cost vendors. Maybe with your business, there's not a lot of startup costs, right? You just throw a computer, get your site up, you start selling like the Etsy, right? So that could be a strength. Strong financials, you've got a lot of money backing you. Weaknesses could be the opposite of that. Remember, internal, lack of experience, no marketing plan, right? Got to have these things. Maybe we have a bad location, or maybe we've never ran a business and this is our first time and we're figuring it out, right? Nothing that we can't overcome, but we have to identify honestly. The one thing with this exercise is you want to answer it honestly, and you want to get a different perspective, because sometimes, right, our perspectives are what they are. Our experience shape how we perceive things. That doesn't always mean it's right or wrong, right? It just means that I would suggest that you always run this by someone that you trust, that would give you honest feedback. And also approach this honestly, because you're not going to get anything out of it if we're not being absolutely upfront with everything that could possibly go good and go bad, right? So examples of opportunities, we kind of touched on a couple of those with the geography, the diversification of products and service over the long term. Maybe it's partnerships, right? Maybe working with this other business, we could do a partnership. We could work on referrals together, or maybe they have a better vendor for this type of, part of our product. There's so many different things. And these are just examples, not by any means a comprehensive list. So just to give you ideas. Threats would be coronavirus, right? COVID-19. That changed the way some of us do business. Tight credit market, possibility of taxes, right? Vendor pricing, all of these things, increase in interest rate. Those are things that we can't control, right? But what we can control is our actions to the problem that has been presented to us. So even though we can't control those external factors, we can control how we plan and react to those external factors. So one thing that you're probably thinking is, Mollie, this stuff overlaps. I mean, I feel like I filled these out before and it just overlaps, and no worries. I wouldn't worry about it. When you're kind of going through in your head and you're looking at this, don't worry as much about overlap as answering this and assessing this honestly, and you just giving it, a different perspective, right? Honest answers is very key to making this exercise successful. Keep in mind those statistics, right? When we're looking at these things and we're assessing our situation, we have to approach it honestly. So now this is a traditional SWOT. This is what you're going to see about, you're usually going to hear about. Here at Comprehensive Consulting, we've created a different version. And that was due to, of course, COVID. Trends is we added a T for trends. So you may see SWOT with 2 T's, right? Now, trends could go into some of these other sections. Again, don't worry about as much as the overlap as assessing this exercise honestly. Now, trends could be the industry, consumer habits changing, right? COVID-19, no contact transactions was a big change for a lot of my business owners, right? That was different. The ones that weren't online, that were, they were kind of coming like, hey, everybody's online, I got to get online. We had to do that quickly, right? Because everyone was online. When you look at Google produced a report, and I believe it was 60%, may have that statistic mixed up, but it was around 60-ish that I believe it said, in terms of the amount of content that it's up, that people are literally like viewing content all day long, right? So if we weren't on social media and we weren't in front of them and online, we were missing the boat. That's a trend that we didn't expect, right? Now, it could also be restrictions. It could also be, customer purchasing power changes, things that, hey, what we can't do is we can't prevent those things from happening because they're out of our control. But what we can do is how we react and how we plan to handle whatever situation occurs. So I know that was a lot of info. Hope that was good. And just think of a SWOT as the S and the W, strengths and weaknesses, internal, the O and the T as external. Again, don't worry about overlap. It's not a big deal. So guess what? It's chat time.
All right, guys, one more poll. Which of these may be included in a SWOT? Please select all that apply.
Oh, look at that. I got some good answers coming. We'll give it just a minute.
All right, guys, I think we're there. Here we go.
All right. Thank you, Cassidy. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is awesome. So this is great. They didn't fall for my trick this time. Look at that. Y'all are fancy. I love it. So great job. So you can tell this was also a trick question, but y'all did great. All of these things, depending on the business, could be included in the SWOT. So great job. That's awesome. All right. So we're going to keep going here. We're almost wrapped up. So here's the question. This is great, Molly. We talked about why it's important, right? We've looked at what it is, what's in it, but what do I do next, right? And that's a great question. So there are plenty of resources out there to help you with this, no matter if you have a budget or if you don't, right? There's free resources, there's paid resources, there's all kinds of opportunity to make sure that you're successful with this business planning. And so I've listed some here. You can do a quick Google search. These are ones that are, known domains that I know of course, the SBA, right? The Arkansas Small Business Technology Development Center is also a good resource. They have some great templates on their site. SCORE as well. And then, of course, I found some random ones on like the VA and the Harvard Business Review. Quick Google search all of these. And then I know Cassidy is actually going to send this presentation out, and these are links within the document. So you can actually go in and do pull up the templates and work through them. Again, have a third party, unbiased person, right? A mentor, a peer, or a consultant to help you kind of work through to kind of give that different perspective, right? So here, and you can find a lot more. There's so many templates online. Don't let it overwhelm you. That's why I kind of listed a couple here, because there's a lot. And these templates cover a lot of information that we've discussed. And the SCORE one actually has some really neat templates, as well as the Technology Center for some of those financial projections as well. Now, you could do it that way, or you could use some of the free resources that are in Northwest Arkansas, such as Startup Junkie and the Technology and Development Center. They do some free consulting services to help small businesses. So if you're in the situation where that's best for you, absolutely take up anyone on their advice, right? Use as many resources as you possibly can to make sure that, your perspective meets what you think you can achieve, right? And then, of course, the last one is hire a consultant like Comprehensive Consulting to walk you through specific areas, or to walk through all steps of the business planning process. We work with clients where we may work on a couple sections, and then we literally have clients that we've worked with for 1 month to 3 months to really literally finish their business plans. That is kind of the full process, right? But some of our clients are, hey, I need help with this section, or, I kind of need some guidance on this. So we're there for that as well. And then Cassidy, do we have any questions or anything in chat?
We do have one really good question. It's what do you recommend keeping track of cash flow? Like what program? How do you do it?
That is a great question. So there are so many different options out there. Depending on your situation, a bookkeeper is always a great idea, or your CPA, right? But also QuickBooks. There's several programs like that where we can kind of see what's happening with our cash flow, look at where we're at, our profit and loss, as well as our balance sheet, all of those different reporting functions available at your fingertips. Now, I have business owners that is just not their thing, right? And it's technology, and they're just like, I got enough technology in my life. I don't want any more, which I totally understand. Those, I would recommend that you actually talk to a CPA or a bookkeeper, and they can provide those projections and those reporting functions. So that was a great question. Any others? Are we good?
If you guys want to take some time to think about any questions and type them in the chat, I'll just wait another minute, because I know
that's great.
there has been a lot that we have gone through. And while we were doing this, I will put in a little plug that we are having an elevator pitch kind of workshop where we let you sign up, and we let you into our innovation center and use our whisper room to kind of practice, get used to voicing your elevator pitch, record it and send it to you. And we also have headshots going on that day as well. So you can practice your pitch, get some headshots, and already one step further towards your goal in small business. So
that's great.
And we also have many, 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 many print and online resources through the library that can really help these beginning steps. So, all right, it seems like we do have a couple more questions now. One is, how do I get a list of what I can write off on taxes?
That's a great question. So that is a very great question. Anything when we're talking about specific areas such as accounting, I always would recommend that you go and talk to a CPA or a bookkeeper, because they're the ones that have studied and assessed that, right? So the thing with us is we work with other professionals, because we're not going to be an expert in accounting, but we work with experts in accounting, right? So with that, if you have someone that you've done your taxes, or if you already have a business and you worked with them in the past on something, they can actually say, here are the things to look for. And I know with mine, at the end of the year, he just reviews what I have and makes sure it's correct, right? So I wouldn't worry about as much of that, as long as you have that professional advice, they can handle that and make sure that you're on the right track. It's a great question, though.
This might be another, you might need a CPA, but if I am being a solo entrepreneur, when should I start worrying about taxes?
Taxes are always thing.
Yeah.
I wish they were, but they are. The IRS likes their money, right?
Yes.
So again, I would talk to your CPA or your bookkeeper. It depends on you. You're always going to have to pay taxes, right? So depends on how much money you make. Now, if you have a small business and it's the first year, just report that income, and your accountant may say, hey, it's your first year and you didn't hit the threshold, right? But the next year you will. So just one of those things, I would talk to my accountant and get your plan together, your CPA or your bookkeeper, whomever that is. And here's our plan, and this is what we're going to do going forward, because taxes is one of those things. We just have to do it. And the IRS does not like it when they don't get their money. So great question, though.
Oh, and one kind of comment, just a great thanks to you. And this person is helping a friend write their business plan, and said this is a great resource. And did you say could share the links? Yes, I'm going to be sharing all of those links in an email after. I'm going to attach the entire PDF of the presentation, and it should be on that PDF. And if there's any issues opening it from the PDF, I can send you guys directly the links as well. And this has been recorded, so I will also be sending the link to the recording too.
Oh, that's great, Cassidy. Yes. That is awesome. We're almost done here, so we'll just wrap up. So thank you all again for your great questions. So I'm going to end and leave you all with this. This is one of my favorite quotes. And I'm sorry, it's a little blurry. I don't know why that is, but whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford, this is one of my favorites. In my experience with the business owners that are most successful, they know they can, but they also have a plan, and they also execute, because you can plan all day and you can come up with the best, prettiest plan. But if you don't actually execute on it, it's not really a plan, right? So keep this in mind. Attitude is everything. y'all can do this. Just know, make a plan, know you can, and make it happen. And then thank y'all so much for your participation. Thank you so much for Cassidy and the Fayetteville Public Library and Kelly as well. We really appreciate y'all getting this set up. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Cassidy.
Thank you, Molly. This has been wonderful. I greatly appreciate you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And thanks for everyone who's attended. You guys all have been great as well. Such great questions. And
Yes.
such great participation and polls. Thank you all. I'm going to stop the recording now, and you all have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Bye.
Thank you.